Well, hey, so today I, I was playing a game for myself, a new one. It just came out last week called Diablo 4. And it's fun. And I was like, how am I going to justify this with tarot? How am I going to make this? And so I'm playing, and there's a scene that comes up in the game, and it says, go find the hermit in his cabin. and so I had to go looking for this hermit guy to meet him and get some information and go through some part of the very early stages of getting into this role-playing game. And I was like, this is great. So I went to find the hermit, and it was fun. And I found the guy, and I did what I needed to do. And he's going to be a character. He went off. He left me on my own to do some other quest stuff. And he went off to do his thing. But it got me thinking, about the hermit card. And he was actually dressed sort of like this, except in a much sort of more gray, dark robe with a rope around the waist, very sort of medieval looking for the Diablo 4. It's a very, very dark, it's about the darkness of demons and hell and evil and all that stuff. And it's always sort of going in underground and stuff. But so anyway, it made me start thinking about the hermit and what that is. And dinner too. I'm eating some dinner. But sorry. I decided to do this stream out of the blue. I can only game so long, especially with a new game, because it throws off my visual something. Sometimes I get a little woozy in a game because this game has a very weird, you're above, always looking down from an angle, isometric basically view, but the camera's very locked. You can't change your angle of view at all. And so I'm not used to that. Every game now is very free with their cameras. I mean, one of the best ever with their camera is Red Dead Redemption 2. That open world. And the way you can move around very freely and look any way you want is just great. But this Diablo is a different thing. It's meant to be just looking at the top and following the character along where they go. It's just got that slightly restrictive quality, almost like it has an effect like a VR headset sometimes can. And it makes, it kind of gets me a little woozy. And I have to stop playing. But I realized that part of the problem was when I game, I tend to stream with two machines. There's a Mac, and then I have a PC for the game. And so I did the double machine thing. And those older iMacs, they blow a lot of hot air. And it just heats the room up really fast. So I readjusted, and I went back to the single PC approach and streamed for a while there, and the room stayed cooler. But it was nice to run across a hermit in this game while I was trying to figure out, why am I streaming a game when I should be doing tarot? So, but there's the hermit card there. So the idea, with hermit, hermit comes up and sometimes, and it's very much a card of introspection, clearly, but not only introspection, though. It's just a seeking for the truth, for knowledge, for understanding, but being willing to separate oneself from the world in order to do that. To not follow others, to go off and isolate in order to find truth, to find the self. It's very, very sort of like Buddha-like, it's like sitting under the Bodhi tree or going out into the desert for 30 days. It's that very meditative sense of life, and the lantern of understanding, and the walking stick, and all those things sort of convey this idea, this lonely but not at all unhappy. The hermit is not unhappy. The hermit is not a misanthrope. The hermit is isolating and removing themselves in order to do their job. They're seeking of the truth, seeking to understand themselves and get to the bottom of a problem, or get to the bottom of reality. The hermit has really deep, significant intentions. So I just thought I'd mention that because it was, and they did the hermit character in this game very well. He was, he's quite an interesting character, and you want to sort of find out more about him, but they have him just interact with you for a few minutes, and he sends you off to do some things, and then he rides off. He goes off because he says he has to go and find someone. But your job is to go do these other things and then traverse the world and go and find him later somewhere else on the map, way up somewhere else, which is unexplored so far. So I have to explore different areas, get some things accomplished, and then eventually work my way back to this hermit character and probably get more information about what the storyline, you know how these things, RPGs work that way. But so there's this real great, serious hermit character in this game. How can you have anything more tarot-like than that? So let me open a queue up. I'm just going to get right down to it and open a queue. So now there's a queue open for readings. And that's just what that is. And let me go here. So our little Twitch robot is all fired up and behaving properly. Yeah. So, but, when I game and stream, it's like, people like to watch gamers who are really good at their games and stuff. And I've never played a Diablo game before in my entire life. I've played some World of Warcraft, which is a really, really, that game bugs the hell out of me. There's so much to try and there's just it's a pain in the ass. I'm sorry. It's so difficult for a user, even if you've been playing for 2 years, to figure out what the hell you're supposed to do. I mean, you know what to do for quests, but with the user interface and collect this and collect that and get these skills and abilities and powers and juices and vials and potions and what? And then you bring them back and you put them in storage or something, and they connect to each other, and you have skill trees that are completely indecipherable. And I'm like, what is all this? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I just sort of stumble through those things in World of Warcraft and do my best, but nobody would want to watch me play those things. Just, they won't want to watch me play Diablo either. They may want to come for a tarot reading, but they sure as hell don't want to watch me play Diablo, because I'm basically a total newbie. And I said that in one of my streams. I'm a newbie, and I'm just new player. And it's possible there might be a few really new players that want to see, well, if let's see if anyone else is worse than I am at this game. Then they might want to watch me. So I think I should stick to streaming tarot mainly here. But I do like games at times, and I can get quite decent at them. For instance, I have over 460 Fortnite wins. Which is actually damn good, according to the statistics site. That number, although modest by really great Fortnite player standards, puts me in the top 0.1%. That's what Fortnite Tracker says. It's really fascinating to me. And I actually get proud of it. I get ridiculously proud of that. I also get ridiculously angry when I play that game. I have to be more like the Hermit here, who... Well, that's not true, because we don't know what the Hermit does, because he goes off to be alone. So if the Hermit gets mad and starts slamming his fist down on his desk like this because he can't figure something out, we'd never know. We'd never be the wiser, because he's a damn hermit. He hides, so we don't know. He sure doesn't stream his ponderings. That's for sure. And there's a time for that. Like, I think a good streamer, I think if you stream, and I try to do this, I really do. If you're going to stream tarot, then I think you owe it to people who visit to study your business, to study your tarot, to study your ideas about it, because people come in and they give you their time. And of course, I give them my time. It's an exchange, an even exchange. But you're presenting yourself when you do tarot as someone who people should feel free to come in and spend time with and absorb from. And you have to have something to give. You have to have a constantly improving and increasing understanding of what it is you're doing, and you have to increase the depth. So where I started with doing this last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever, in 2 months, the content will be deeper. It'll be more rich as I progress, because part of streaming is not only learning about what it is you're discussing, but it's learning how to put that into the stream format and make it clear and so it registers with people. So I love all of that kind of figuring those things out. It's fascinating, really. It's fascinating to be new at something and decide, okay, I'm going to try to do this well, And I think the Hermit would agree. I used to sort of think that streaming was a little silly, but I don't now, as long as the streamer is trying to make things, and I can't be the judge of most streams, because many people are making things and I don't really understand what they're making. Some of the people who talk in the just chatting category, things they do, they have their own unique sensibilities. And I can look at a stream and think, what are they doing? But I don't know what people much younger than myself necessarily are doing or how they are enriching other people who watch. I really don't understand those dynamics. It's very interesting about things as they move forward. People often don't understand what younger people who are just, they don't get it. They don't get what that culture has become, because they get too old. You kind of age out and you don't have the same perspective you had when you were 20. And so you have to be very careful when you get older to stay flexible and open to things. And the tarot could tell you such the same. But at the same time, you have to recognize that you're not that flexible. You try to be, but you can't fully ever expect that you're perfectly flexible and can understand exactly what a new culture or younger culture is doing. So there are plenty of things about streaming that I'm just not going to get because I'm conditioned in a different way. And so I do only what I can comprehend, and that's how it works. But it makes life interesting, and I think the tarot would say very similar. See, I find myself sort of trying to think now and present ideas in a very, in a way that sort of mirrors how they come out through a tarot reading. So the tarot, you can start to sort of model yourself in a way. You can start to model your personality in these little ways on tarot. And I think if it sort of feels right, feels worthy or something, then the tarot is probably a pretty good tool for that. It's a new idea, maybe, for me to just sort of look at tarot as a personality improver, a personality improvement machine. Like if you're kind of an a-hole and you decide that maybe you are, but you don't want to be, perhaps tarot is a good modification machine to sort of help you along that little journey of the fool to non-a-holism. It could be, but we all have some of the a-hole in us at times, and it's hard sometimes to spot it and change, right? That's throughout human history. It's been everybody's, well, if it's not your battle, then you are just really an a-hole, I guess. That's what it means. This is really good. Wow. This is good, and it was cheap. There's salad, there's basmati rice, there's lamb, and hot sauce. Jojo. Oh, you missed the whole thing. The whole caravan went by. The circus and everything. Yeah, they went by like an hour ago. But you missed nothing except me raving on about a game and the Hermit. But the idea... Oh, you're in the queue. Okay, here. I'm going to answer this. Oh, shoot. I deleted you by accident. Sorry. I pressed the wrong... See, the buttons... Sorry. Press the... do the join again. You don't have to do the join anyway. Okay, there you go. I was talking about how the hermit goes into isolation and removes themselves from the world, basically, in order to have that solitude to do the work that they need to do to seek the truth. They don't remove themselves necessarily out of depression or antisocial behavior. They do it for the reason of meditative silence, so that they can get more in touch with something. You know, that's sort of it's a big thing about the hermit underlying that card, is that sort of spiritual seeking that requires solitude for a time. All right, Jojo, give me a topic. I'm going to do a reading right away. Okay. General for the week. First thing out is a sort of a slight dip in energy, maybe a little creative sort of, a little wands fatigue, some sort of a little doubt about where to go and how to proceed in something, a project maybe, something you're up to, something you want to get to. Might take a little more time than anticipated. A little frustrating. There's a little frustration here. A little inability to decide, maybe. Back and forth, not able to really come down and make a definite decision. That could be it. Kings tend to want to make decisions. And in reversal, they're and it may not be a negative issue. It's just that they don't want to make the decision yet. There's hesitancy, and it could be perfectly appropriate. It doesn't, it's nothing decided about that, but there just seemed to be some holdup in a decision, a wait, a pause, and some doubt. Perhaps something needs to be resolved. More work needs to be done in order to get to a point of certainty. Now, there's a lot going on under the surface in the mind, and there's a big load of information that it has been accumulated. There's no lack of facts required. This energy here that's maybe held up and a little doubtful, not quite willing to make a decision yet, has a lot of data. Let's put it that way. It has a lot to go on here underneath. The resources are plentiful. Okay, the capabilities plentiful. There's no information lacking. You have all the facts. Okay. And now, in very similarly to the reversed King of Wands, the Magician is, there's hesitancy here to make a decision, to put energy forward. But there's also, a potential difficulty with a skill, some required person, someone who is able to bring things together, to put things together, to make whatever it is you need, to give you whatever it is you need, or your own ability to put your work out there, to complete it, to finish it. So there's a holdup this week, and it's suggesting perhaps here that the holdup, that you have an enormous amount of information and knowledge. You're aware of things. This is sort of underlying the situation, and maybe you haven't really thought about this yet, that you have a lot of info to use. But the entire reading is almost suggesting that you give it some more time, whatever this might be. It could be something you've been thinking about in the back of your mind for ages, but it's saying it might not be the right time to actually decide finally and then to make whatever this is happen. It could be time to wait. Give it more time. Let this knowledge, maybe there is even more you need, but it's certainly pointing to the importance of information in whatever decision or project this is. And it's saying there's a holdup, and I think it's suggesting that the holdup is required. To be cautious. Don't step into finalization yet. Don't make any big decisions yet. Keep getting the facts together. Keep figuring out where your head is. I don't know. It could apply to personal life. It could apply in work life. It's hard to say. Something about it leans toward the work area to me, though. You know? It's very centered around information and decision and productivity. Yeah. It's suggesting that you not push to finish anything yet. More information may come to light. That could be what this is doing here. Even though you have a lot, because the ace is always the symbol of great resources, great potential. But it may also be indicating that, yes, but you need a lot here. You need to keep your eye on this. You need to be aware of the information. And since it's on the left, it's been a little hidden. It may be something you've been sort of just assuming is all there and kind of ignoring. And maybe now it's saying, okay, now look at the information. There's a lot, but maybe you need more. And that's why it's saying here, slow down. Don't let anyone push you into production here or push you into whatever. Production sounds like a factory, but you know what I mean. Push you into finalizing and letting the thing be considered done. Don't do that yet is what the tarot is saying. Yeah, and very often time is what the tarot tells us to do, just like the I Ching does. It tells us often now is not the time to take action. It's not good. It's the time to be more like the hermit and go and be, solitudinous and, prepare more, study more. For instance, some days it may not be the right day to stream tarot. It may be the day to read a tarot book and be lazy and just sort of think about those ideas a little bit and then stream the next day. Because, it just could be, these things happen. You can't push to make something be finished. Yeah, I remember the dad thing. Yes, I remember that. The business thing, the idea, the investing. I remember what you were saying. Yep. Yeah. Sometimes you need to let information sort of sit with you for a while and see what it does. See what comes to mind a little later. I remember, actually, personal life, business. I remember years ago, I was doing a thing of my own on the internet. And some people that I knew presented me with this offer. They said, we would like to start a business with this thing you're doing. And they talked to me. They had a meeting at their house, and we were talking and brainstorming back and forth. But something just didn't feel right. And I wasn't, they were making sense, and they were saying, we would go and get money from, somewhere. We would find an investor, and then we would have to figure out who owns what percentage. And I started to get a little, I could tell my little, in the back of my head, little things were like, little bells were going. And I was just like, no, and I wasn't aware of this. I just was wondering why I was constantly saying things like, okay, it's been a really good discussion. Okay, so I'm going to have to leave now. I'm going to go home, and, I have plans, and, but I'll call you in a few days, and we'll set up the next one. And so we had a few of these meetings, and I kept saying the same thing, okay, I'll go. I have to do some things. I'll call you in a few days. And then finally, after like 2 months of this kind of back and forth, I finally began to become aware. I was like, I don't think I want to do this. And I hadn't been able to say that to myself for like 2 months. I had all the same facts, all the same info. It just took me 2 months for those little, very quiet little voices in the back of my head to suddenly come to my awareness. And I was like, wait, finally, I was like, wait, no, I don't want to do this. This isn't right. This isn't right. Something's not right about this. And so when they called again to set up another meeting, I said, hey, listen, I got to be really honest. I can't do this. And they were actually really nice. And they were like, we totally understand. It's completely your decision, and we wouldn't want to do it if you were at all uncomfortable. So you see, sometimes you don't know. You have all the information you need, you have it, and it has to just sit in you because you sometimes don't know what you think about all that information until some time passes and you realize that whatever little voice you were ignoring, boom, it's sudden, you can hear it all of a sudden. So that's why the tarot is great when it tells you to go like, hold on. Just wait a little bit and see. So there you go. But you can feel bad when you say no. I felt bad. It's hard to say no to people when They seem like they've decided they really want to do something and they're excited about it. And you don't want, and you know, you're going to disappoint them when you say no. And sometimes it's family. These people weren't family though, but they were really nice. And I had to say no after listening to my little inner voice. And I'm sure they were disappointed, but they were very nice to me, you know, about it. But it's hard, you know, you have to be able to, but you have to be able to do that in life. You have to be able to say no, no matter who it is. It's crucial. So yeah, this tarot reading is in large part about saying no, at least for now, or not saying yes at any rate. But it could be applied also to a situation where you have to say no. Yeah, it really is, because man, it's, you know, they always do positivity messages, movies about just say yeah, being able to say yes all the time, to open yourself up to things. But it's much easier for many people to say yes when they shouldn't, when they should actually say no. That's what's hard, because no can really, you feel like it's going to kill people, like they're going to be so disappointed and upset and just lose all respect for you, and like think that you're like a weakling and you're scared and, you know, all those things. If I say no, they're going to think I'm a quitter and I don't have any adventure in me. I'm not willing to take any risks and all those things. So sometimes you say yes because you feel like you should. And that's a really bad way to say yes. So. God, this is Mediterranean food. I gotta get food from this place more often. No, not today. Because I sort of jumped in at the last minute. I was going to play more of the game I was playing. And then I was like, no. I've gamed already today for like 3 hours. I'll do tarot. I'll just switch over. And I just instantly switched over. But tomorrow I will. Tomorrow's a regularly scheduled tarot. And I'll start it with I Ching. Thank you, Arrowsworth. And welcome. I game stream sometimes. It's just not a great idea, because I think it confuses people. If I'm doing this most of the time and then I throw game streams in, I think it's a little like, what? What's that? Am I in the right place? Good evening, Arrowsworth. You know, so I should probably refrain from streaming games or stream them under some other. Southeast Brazil. Oh, that's funny, because last night with a friend, we were watching a Brazilian version of a TV show called Love is Blind. You may know it. It's a show where those people they have to, like, I don't know, they go to a chapel and they decide if they want to get married, and they live in an apartment together for a while, all that stuff. But anyway, it's called Love is Blind, and it was all in Portuguese with English subtitles, and it was like really interesting, actually. The people were like really kind of interesting But yeah, they were filming it. I think they film it in Brazil. Yeah. Going well over here. I just did a reading for JoJo. And the card of the evening to discuss earlier was the Hermit. And we were talking about how the Hermit represents the time for solitude, the time to seek inner truth and take a meditative approach to life for a while so that you can get closer to whatever truth you're seeking. And that's the basic underlying tone of the Hermit card. And I mentioned it because I was playing a game, Diablo 4, today, and all of a sudden in the early part of the game, a hermit character is really important. You have to go find the hermit in his little cabin in the woods. And so I was thinking, boy, this is like perfect tarot character. And then I decided to do a tarot stream, an extra stream tonight. I got my dinner, which is right here in my hands, and I decided to just do a tarot stream. I couldn't help it. So I have to go to Brazil sometime. I bet Brazil is tons of beautiful. Well, the tarot, Jojo, it doesn't really want to give yes or no. The tarot is never really, because if you really try to do yes or no, you get into prediction, and it kind of makes you want to think that the tarot can predict an outcome. So if you ask tarot, is this going to happen? Yes or no? Then you're actually trying to make the tarot predict. Where in fact, I believe the tarot is much more of a suggestion, and it says, hey, these things are things that you should keep in mind and let your mind wander down these little paths of investigation because there's something in them that may play a role here. And that's how it actually gives you a much deeper answer ultimately, that ultimately sets you up for better things. Whereas a yes and a no in little specific circumstances, look, realistically, what would happen with tarot is you'd get a reading, you'd ask for a yes or no answer or something, the tarot would say yes, and the next day it wouldn't happen. And you'd be like, I'm never talking to tarot again. You know? And so the tarot really doesn't do that well with yes or no. It's much better for, if you say, am I going to find money somewhere on the street tomorrow? Instead of yes or no, because if the tarot says, yep, you are going to find money on the street tomorrow, for sure, absolutely, and midnight tomorrow shows up and you haven't even found a dime, what does that say about tarot? So what the tarot is actually going to do is say, well, let's look at the subject matter of finding money or gaining money, attaining things. And let's see what the tarot suggests is something good for you to keep in mind tomorrow and beyond about your view, your attitude about finding money or gaining. And the tarot will give you better answers there. They're more subtle. They're suggestions. They're hints. They're never really yes or no. And everybody really is safer if you approach tarot as philosophy, as spirituality, as self-improvement, rather than as a prediction mechanism. You know, and I even like to use the phrase fortune telling, because fortune telling's fine. Fortune telling doesn't mean that you're saying yes or no or telling somebody what's going to happen. That's not what fortune telling means at all. Fortune, if you think about the fortune's wheel, the card in the tarot, fortune's wheel uses the word fortune, but you don't see typically a fortune teller with a crystal ball in that card. You may, and some artists can do anything they want, but the classic fortune's wheel is a wheel that is more indicative actually of a calendar than anything else. It's more indicative of changing of cycles and movement through situations, through your life, evolution, karma, these things that are very hard to turn into prediction mechanisms. You can't look at the concept of karma and say, well, because you did A, then definitely in your next life, B will happen. That's not how karma works. You could actually, karma is much more better looked at in hindsight, where you see the connection between something you did and then something that came to pass years later that you can recognize as, oh, you know what? That has something to do with the fact that when a few years ago, I wasn't very nice to someone, and it connects in your mind. Well, tarot works this way, the connections in your mind, and how fortune isn't a predictive mechanism. Fortune telling is much more in keeping with spirituality and looking at what your view of the future is and how that influences your entire mind and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about the world. Fortune telling, I always think, should actually be a very sort of uplifting experience. It should be a positive thing. The fortune teller, it conjures up images of crystal balls and curtains, and which are fine. They're great. I love those things, but they have to kind of be looked at not as things where I'm going to consult and ask, will I be this? Will I be a millionaire? Yes or no? It's much better for the tarot not to say yes or no. Right? Because the fortune telling approach can be more, well, what would it take in your mind, in your personality, to get somewhere in the direction of being that millionaire that you hope to be? What are the things that maybe you should keep present in your mind? How should you maybe think about orienting yourself in order to figure out more about what this is as you try to head toward it and grasp it? That's what the power of fortune telling is. I use fortune telling in that sense. It never just says yes, no possibility, or yes, bushels of money are going to fall out of a truck for you. You know what I mean? It's because nobody knows that. No fortune teller has ever known that. Fortune tellers have gotten lucky when they've said yes or no. And I mean, sometimes it's 50-50, right? If you say yes or no, it's 50-50. So a fortune teller here and there, they get on the right side of the 50%, and they're like, oh yeah, I was right. Okay. See, I'm brilliant. I'm intuitive. Ooh. So let me be your fortune teller. Pay me a yearly salary and I'll be your fortune teller, and I'll tell you yes or no, blah, 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 blah. And of course, the next thing you know, the person paying that fortune teller is bankrupt. Okay. So the fortune teller really, if the fortune teller is asked for a yes or no answer to whether or not you're going to become a millionaire, the fortune teller's answer is yes, definitely you should go and talk to your accountant. That's your yes or no answer. So, or no, you should not ask your fortune teller for financial advice. You should not. That's the no. That's the correct no answer. Any other answer involving yes or no from a fortune teller about your money is dead wrong. So, and we all know this. None of us are stupid. We all know this. But the fortune teller can guide you to have a view of how you operate and what's best for you, and how to find what's best for you in the way you seek this fortune of yours. That's the power of the fortune teller. You see what I mean, Jojo? So I answered your question in a very sort of windy way, but all you have to do when you think about really a really good guide to the fortune, to the tarot's basic approach to fortune telling, is just look at the Wheel of Fortune card and read a little about it, because that's the card that uses the word. and you can gain a lot just by looking at that card. Wait, there's nothing about that wheel that suggests yes or no, actually. There's no yes or no there. It's got a crank usually. It doesn't have to. It can be a wheel of anything, but it implies rotation, movement, evolution, change, cycles, eras, generations. It implies all that movement of time and how things change over time, and sometimes they don't change enough and we want them to change, and that card embodies all of that in one image, and and nowhere in there is yes or no. The llama in pajamas has arrived, and I pressed the right button finally. I pressed the button that actually adds you to the that selects you, llama. I very nicely deleted. I think Jojo was registering for the queue, and I just hit the trash can by accident. See what the cards have to say to you today, generally speaking. I know. That's what I do. That's how I do it all the time. And, they just... Sometimes I sit down with my coffee in the morning, and I'm just like, I'll just pull a card. Like, whatever. I'll just pull it and see. And sometimes I'm totally disappointed because the cards just doesn't seem interesting enough to me. It's like, I wanted a big card. Damn it. I wanted I wanted an emperor, and I got a 4 of swords. You're right. You're right. I'm glad you pointed that out, Llama, because I'm being, you're absolutely right about that. My little thing about, why am I getting this boring card? It's really, it's probably just because I'm tired in the morning, or I'm not, I'm just being a little obnoxious. You know how it is. Pimmy, hello. Thank you very much. Yeah, I started doing tarot. I kind of got my act together a little bit with it. I had to get some equipment and I had to make it work properly. So, all right. And Jojo, you wanted to know if you should hit on your best friend forever and another I deem attractive or let it be just friendship. Okay. Well, hold on. Okay. All right. Jesus. I mean, okay. Hey, wait. Let me do. Let me read Llama, and then I'll tell you whether or not you should hit on your friends. Okay. Jesus. Hold on a sec. All right, Llama. General. Just let's think about general. Oh, okay. The Pope pops up. I mean, this card calls it Le Pape, but it often called the Hierophant or the High Priest. The basic conjuration here is someone who is in touch with spiritual ideas, greatly oriented toward tradition, toward prayer, toward learning, teaching, leading. He's a church leader. He or she, it makes no difference. It's a church leader. That's what's really significant about this card, because this is differentiated from the High Priestess by virtue of the fact that it's much more oriented toward leading a structured entity like a church. There's social element here. There are people, students looking up to this person. This person presents ideas that are maybe not ideas that are even being communicated directly from this person, but the person is using books and scriptures, writings, old sayings, these kinds of things. This person is very in touch with artifacts and relics and icons, and it's a very structured form of spirituality, which involves teaching and leadership. There's great leadership here. And it's someone to pay attention to, someone who's worth listening to. So what's happening here is that the tarot is saying of paramount importance going into this week is this very basic idea of being the leader, teaching, helping others get where you are, helping others understand what's going on. If you are in a position where you are the teacher, you know that. If you are in the position where you are the student, then the card is saying, give it your all. Follow, listen to this person. They are to be taken seriously. Their words are to be pondered deeply. Their guidance is to be analyzed and let it sit with you and let it penetrate. Really listen. It doesn't mean you have to make snap decisions and follow someone's instructions. It just means that there's a healthy attempt to guide you that is based on solid foundations. That's what this person has, is solid foundation behind their teaching. There's no nonsense here. Everything they say is based on something that has been proven to be of great benefit. The Hierophant or the Pope card never just says things easily, or he never takes anyone down the wrong path. This card's not reversed in your reading. This card's straight up. And so it's good, solid guidance. And the tarot says this is at the top of your list this week. It's up here. It's broadcasting out. It wants you to listen, or it wants you to be that guide, to say to yourself, I'm going to I'm going to give the very best possible advice I can to whomever needs it. It is my responsibility. I'm going to base it on truth and things that we all know are beneficial and have been proven to work. That's what this card is saying. Now here, we get a reversal of the Two of Wands. Underneath the surface, something that's sort of a little hard to see, a little hard to pay attention to all the time. So it's here, and it's also something that's kind of, it drifts away. It's hard, but the wands are the passion, the fire, the creativity. And the two is the sort of gathering of plans and the coalescing together of whatever elements are required. It can also indicate that there's some conflict. It's two. It's a coupling. It's an attempt at unifying two things. And when it's reversed, it means they're not there. They're not syncing. The two links in the chain aren't locking. They're outside each other. I'm trying to do the chain. The two links in the chain are like this instead of linked. Okay? So that's why it's reversed. So there's something somewhere that's jammed up creatively, maybe at work, maybe at home, who knows, it doesn't matter. But they're not, the things aren't coming together, and it's taking more time than it should, perhaps, to bring them together. Now, this is where the guidance comes in. The guidance is here on top to help overcome any issues down here. That's the suggestion for overcoming. More to learn. Guidance must be sought. And then here on the right, upside down temperance. Okay, so whatever this is that needs to be dealt with, and some leadership guidance needs to be followed, is causing an imbalance. Temperance wants to kind of settle things down. Temperance is about being able to follow the middle road, the middle path, the everything in moderation sort of idea, the force that is able to calm things and bring them in so that you're able to understand others, other points of view, and even in conflict. So whatever conflict is here in creative energies somehow, maybe at work, is causing or will cause, and to be careful, that's why it's on the right, be aware, keep this in your mind, that there could be a little trouble. Watch out for conflict. Watch out for, things getting a little out of control, and to try to maintain the calm waters of temperance. Now, above all of those two things is this priest. As I said, this leadership is required in order to correct whatever imbalance or conflict is going on in what you're doing or creating. There's leadership. There's authoritative help is required. And this can go either way. It can be you seeking this to resolve problems, or it can be you offering this to resolve problems. It's hard to say for sure, but that's the general approach, and you will know where to apply that when you see where this plugs in. Sometimes everything in moderation, including moderation itself. Exactly. That's why, you go and you say, I'm tired of being reasonable. I'm going to go and have a massive party. And all my friends are going to come, and we're going to play music way too loud. And we're going to trample all of the rose bushes and just have a great time. Because moderation is not for tonight. Yes, that's true. Yes, because if you do everything in moderation all the time, life can just be like, you're just kind of bland, But yeah, Definitely there's someone, there's something to learn, something to pay attention to. There's a lesson that's solid and needs to be very carefully scrutinized and listened to because it offers a lot in this coming up week. That's basic idea. Thank you, Llama. Pimmy, I see you there, and I just hit the button for you, so you are next. I used to never know, really. I used to never understand the High Priest card. I was very much like, I don't know. But I've gotten much more comfortable with the High Priest card over the years, partly because of drawing it. I drew my own version, and I kind of like it now. Yes, Pimmy. I'm going to shuffle. And a general is going to come out of these cards, and we're going to see what the I basically do this little spread, 3-card spread. I think of it sort of like as a radio tower on top of a mountain, broadcasting out the main message, and then the little towers on the left and the right are like the follow-up. All right, general. Oh, thank you, Pimmy. Let's see here. All right. So our primary radio tower is beaming out the message from the highest point is showing us a reversed 8 of cups, our heart, our feeling, our love. 8. Okay, 8 is all about infinite possibility, infinite success, but application of ourselves, our focus, constant application of what we know, in this case, all of our feeling, all of our heart, really, really seeking the truth of what we're feeling at this time, in this week, let's say. And when it's reversed, it can mean that there's maybe seeking safety, seeking a little comfort, being a little bit tired, maybe a little hesitant to express a lot of feeling at the moment, maybe a little just trying to calm down and maybe withdraw a little bit. So there's the balance that the 8 tries to achieve through all this hard work sometimes gets thrown off a little bit when it's reversed, and that balance is hard to achieve, and you just don't want to really work that hard right now, maybe. The feelings maybe have been very intense in the past, but right now seems to be that tarot is suggesting that all of that effort maybe needs to relax a little bit, and the heart needs a little breathing room, perhaps, and maybe being a little cautious and safe and self-centered at this point might be worthwhile. Okay, that's what the tarot's hinting here as its primary message. Something being left you can't quite achieve what you consider success in something to do with your heart and your emotions. Something's undone, and it can't get there yet. You can't figure out completely what it is you feel yet. And that's all the tarot is saying. It's not time yet. And on the left, Queen of Wands. Queen is nurturing authority. She's able to sort of rule the more intuitive aspects of life. She's less concerned with ruling, the material things of the court than she is more with how people are feeling, how people are getting along, that kind of thing, how they're interacting. And the creative, the fire, the passion, the drive to do things, to your instinct to be with a person, perhaps. This is now feeling. It goes along with the 8 reverse. You can't figure it out. Cannot come to a conclusion as to what the heck has been going on. What is it? I can't figure out how to make things better. That's why she's reversed. There's trouble mastering the situation in the realm of that fire, the passion, perhaps for a person, perhaps for work, whatever it is that has, kind of has recently get you going. There's some discomfort there, and you feel like it's not easy for you to control it. And you don't understand it entirely. That's what the card is pointing at, that area. Okay? Now, coming up, something to pay attention to. Okay? Very material, very physical, a reversal 10. These are all reverse cards. And so that 10 is saying, that it's not there. There's something you're not getting to the entire physically. And this is physical. So these seem to be, they suggest to me that they're leaning, because it starts primarily in the heart, it leans towards something you love, what it is you love to do, or someone you love, an inability to figure something out, not able to make decisions yet about this scenario, and physical problems, not able to fully engage physically. And if it's work, then that could mean that there are problems with logistics. There's problems with the actually dealing with something physical with work, getting there, or money, something financial, but something is not ready to be finished yet. You're not able to complete something or get to the point where you want things to be. There's a holdup here. And so the tarot is simply saying that this is not an easy time in this area. And there's always a built-in suggestion when this goes on with tarot. The idea here, the card really here to pay attention to, the one that offers you the guidance hidden in the message of concern, of saying, hey, be careful here, because things may not be getting where you want them to go because you don't fully understand how you feel about something. You're not able to get there. Is this the Queen? And the tarot kind of wants a card like this to be remembered as this is where you want to get in this scenario. You want the Queen card, instead of being upside down, you want to get the Queen right side up. And the way to do that, when a card is over here on the left side, is become conscious of it. The left means the unconscious, this part you're not paying attention to. So pay attention to this ability that you have to master your passions and your feelings, to master your creative energy, and pay attention to that part of your personality. Pay very close attention to it and use it. Try and find it and use it. And this card becomes the key to opening up the rest and succeeding in following your heart, understanding what it is you really feel, and breaking through whatever physical barrier there is. You have to maintain your connection to the creative, nurturing, wise, understanding Queen. Makes no difference, man or woman. It's the same basic energy that you have to pay attention to and remember as the week goes on. And none of these cards are particularly, they're not huge cards. That means these cards, they change relatively easily. These are not situations that you can't change without paying attention. All you have to do is pay attention to this quality of yourself, and you can switch these around very quickly. You're welcome, Pimmy. You're very welcome. Tarot, it always gives you, even when the tarot is giving you warnings, it's also telling you there's somewhere in there's the suggestion. Because the tarot isn't, what good is the tarot if it just says, be careful of this, this, and this. But it also gives you little hints about, okay, well now, if you want to help get past this, here's what you look at. That's the thing about tarot I love. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad it sort of fits in, Pimmy, with what you're dealing with. Because, keeping a card in mind, like the Queen of Wands, it can never lead anyone the wrong way. It's always going to have something of benefit. Yeah. Can't go wrong. Paying attention to tarot cards, you can't go wrong. It's amazing. They just sort of reaffirm basic ideas about life. I was looking today at another tarot stream. Just before I started this tonight, about an hour and a half ago, I looked at a stream. There was a guy with a British accent. You couldn't see him. You could just see his hands. But he had a nice layout with looked like wood and like a postcard on the left where the person's question would show up. And he had a bunch of I think he had real objects, like piles of things sort of around the edge of the piece of wood where he was doing the readings. And it actually, I was like, that's really good. His setup looked really good. I like that. I can't remember who it was. Let me see if I can see. I'm going to check Twitch right now and see if I can tell if he's still online. Oh, let's see. Tarot. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. It's called Greatest Good Tarot. Yeah, his setup is really nice. I think it's great. Greatest Good Tarot. Yeah. Oh, I keep messing up with my... I don't know why I keep messing up my... Yeah, so tarot, yeah. Greatest Good Tarot. like British guy. And he's got like a cool set of tarot cards. Interesting. Oh, yes. Yeah, I got sidetracked because I remembered this British guy. Whether you should hit on your friends. Well, but wait a minute now. Hi, Stella's an angel. So, Jojo, so wait. Usually there's just like one if in this situation, but now you're saying like friends. Thank you, Stella. Jojo's making me laugh because Jojo's asking whether. Okay, I'm going to pull one card out for that, Jojo. One loves you. Oh. But I don't know how much. Okay, well, okay, like me in quotes. All right, look, let's just do this. One card. One right here. This stuck to my finger. One card. Five of Cups reversed. 5 is an unsettled number. It means new things, play around, experiment. They cause problems. They do the people get a little concerned about it, except it's reversed. So the 5, when it's reversed, basically says more like the 4. It basically says be careful. That's the suggestion from that card. Be careful. Go slow. The 5 reversed gets more stable. It says, no. It backs off from risky. And it says, oh, hold on. Okay? That's what's coming out of the tarot. Just one card. That's not yes or no. That just means has to be on solid foundation. Has to be on solid foundation if you're going to do anything. If not, go real careful. The music changed. And Stella, you are up. So you just pick a topic. You just tell me what it is you want to ask, or your basic subject, and I continue to shuffle this crazy deck. Oh, by the way, this is the Tarot de Marseille deck. This is the old Jack deck. Goes back to 1425 or something like that in Italy, northern Italy. And then it moved into Marseille, France, where it was printed and everything. But this is the crazy old deck. You have an exam next week. What do you need to focus on to ground yourself beforehand? The radio tower on top of the mountain in the distance blinks and says, "Oh, all right." Now, that's the Hanged Man reversed. right off the top, coming off, blinking off the radio tower with the red light shining in the distance. It's basically saying, okay, don't wait any longer. What is it that you have waited to do that needs doing? What is it that you have maybe ignored? What is it you've been waiting to happen in yourself that maybe it's time to, it's time to get up and, there's the time for waiting is over. Because when the hanged man is reversed, it can start to get a little self-obsessed. It can get a little lazy, and you're instead of getting a new perspective on things, or deeper understanding, and letting time sort of work its magic so you have time to develop. Maybe you're lingering in this. It's like taking a vacation and then taking sick time on top of the vacation because you're just too lazy to go back to work. Okay? So the tarot is saying, hey, it's time now to get going in some direction, maybe in preparation for this exam. There's something that's been kind of left on the back burner that needs to pop out now. Okay? And then here, we have a 10 of swords. Okay, swords for an exam are where you want to be. And this is the left. This is something maybe you're not quite fully aware of. But the 10 means, whoa, full preparation, full. You have a lot of knowledge and ability. And that's signified by the 10. And now it's saying the time has come to get past what you need to get past. Perhaps it's an exam. And get ready for the next thing that comes after that. And you're fully capable of doing that, according to this card. It's inside you, and you forget sometimes. However, you have to remember that the main idea of this hanged man is the time for preparation is drawing to a close very rapidly, and now you have to be prepared for the action. You have to be prepared to not prepare any longer, and to move out confidently into action, which may be your attitude in taking the exam. That attitude where you go, I've done it. I've studied. I can't study forever. I can't keep reading the same darn page over and over again in the book. I'm ready. I'm as ready as I'll ever be. I've got to now turn on that switch in my brain that says, take the exam. Take it. You're good. You're gonna blast through, and you're gonna master it. And that's what's implied by the 10 of swords. The swords are very mental, okay? Very intellect-oriented. Now, something to watch out for. All right. 9 of Cups. Your feelings, the emotions around taking an exam. I mean, it can be scary, right? And the 9 is that number where you're almost there. You've almost figured it out. You've almost gotten through whatever is going on, but you got to put a whole bunch of work in, and you got to bring everything you understand to bear upon this in order to finish and complete, right? You're right there. You're right there about to have the celebration party for finishing. And so this could be the exam, and you're going to have to get through your feelings about this exam. And the hanged man in reversal being the suggestion to stop hanging around and waiting, and stop. It doesn't mean don't do any more preparation, but it means get yourself ready for the actual event now. The time for being the hanged man who is kind of in preparation, kind of in development mode, that time is ending. And this here is something it wants you to be very consciously aware of, which is you've got to master your feelings about this, and you've got to stay calm. You've got to keep yourself on the right sort of emotional key to take the exam and have the best possible optimistic attitude you can so that you function like a well-oiled machine. Because sometimes that kind of thing in an exam, it's very important. And taking an exam has a lot to do with what you know, but also how you take tests and how you're able to master your self and your emotions under stress. And that 9 is all about the stress of almost being there. So when you're taking an exam, basically by definition, you're almost there because you got to get the result of the exam to see where you move next, right? So that's why it's the 9. But it's saying that you've got to get a grip on how you feel and think about these things, how you're emotionally reacting, even within the very test room where you're taking the exam, to master this. And the main card, though, is this to keep in mind. The Hanged Man, the time for doing this is now reaching an end, and it's time to actually cut the cord and be ready for the final act, the big ball game. It's all about how you prepare yourself mentally, right? That's what tests. There are even people who can take tests so well that they don't even sometimes know all the information. Okay, there you are. Really hard to see the real exam as any other practice. There you go. You're right. In fact, I've used that approach myself. You remind yourself, how do I feel when I'm practicing this? Because I always do great when I'm practicing alone, like whatever it is. And remember yourself in practice. Just, oh yeah, remember when I was flipping through those chapters and I was even like one step ahead of what I was reading. I knew the answers before they even told me in the book. And you get that feeling going through your brain. Just that is enough to get you set up emotionally for the test room, right? This is all about preparing the mind and the body to function optimally under the conditions of a test, which are stressful. Frankly, I'm a terrible test taker. I'm terrible. I hate him. In fact, I've been known in the context of work to say to companies, employers, yeah, sure. You can hire me. You want to hire me? No test. As soon as the word test comes out of your mouth, bye-bye. I've done that. Bye-bye. I don't need it. I don't care. Whatever. And it works sometimes. So there you go. But tests they're stressful, and some people are just worse at them than others. For instance, I used to do that when I was younger. That's your answer, Jojo. When I was young and stupid. Yes. It worked. Absolutely. The one time maybe it didn't work, I didn't care. I was like, whatever, You're very welcome, Stella. Stay calm. Remember how you feel in practice. You'll do fine. But then what happens is when get to a certain place in a career, other people in the industry know you. And if they want to hire you, they come and they tell you they want to hire you. And that's the end of it. I was in a swimming pool in Palm Springs playing with a beach ball with another couple, and then they started talking to me about what I did and everything, and we got into this long conversation, and the guy says, oh, come and work for us. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, just come on over. And I was like, come on, we're swimming in a pool. He was like, yeah, I know, but he was like, do you want to or not? I mean, that's what happens at times. And so you have the complete opposite of when you're like 20 and you're trying to get in, you know what I mean? You're trying to get something started. And so you have to do it a different way then, usually. But then later on, as you progress through things and you become a known quantity, it gets different. Yes. I used to go to a cigar lounge a long time ago. There was a cigar lounge, and I went there. They had a humidor room, a whole room, and they had a bar where they only served like wines, like port wines. You're right. People just they talk, you know. And as you get older, I'm telling you, things start to get to where they already know who you are in a certain business, okay? And they know maybe who you work for. And if you've worked for them for a while, then they're like, oh, well, we don't really care how you function on a test. We don't care. Just if we want to hire you, we're going to hire you. Just come on. And it takes time usually, though, for life to get that way. And you always think when you're young, there's no hope, it's never going to happen, but it does. That's how things work. They change over time. Sonoron, good. It's a very good tarot evening, and this is an off-schedule tarot reading, which I tend to do. I have 2 days I schedule, and then I just sort of add other days in whenever. Tonight it just occurred to me when I was eating dinner I should do a tarot stream, and so I launched into it all of a sudden. Yeah. Interview is just for personality. If you're qualified, you got the job. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, and sometimes, you know, like places like Google, at least I think they stopped actually. They used to try and test your IQ by asking like those really warped, twisted brain teaser questions. And they were doing that for like a long time, and they got kind of famous for it. And then they did a study, an internal study that told them they shouldn't do it, that they were actually missing out on really good people with these stupid brain teasers, that they assumed if the person can solve these brain teasers, then they're smart enough to work here. But here's the problem. Geniuses often can't do brain teasers. That's the thing. And Google was like, oh my God, geniuses often can't do brain teasers. What the hell have we been doing all this time? And so they cut them out of their interview process. That sounds like an interesting one. Why are manhole covers round? The first place my brain goes with that, which is often the wrong place, It has to do with them falling back through. Interesting. You know, here's another thing about manhole covers. It's interesting you bring this up because in New York City, I lived in New York City, and I had an apartment overlooking 8th Avenue near, no, it wasn't 8th, it was 9th Avenue, right near where the Grand Central is. And there was a little grocery market on the corner across the street from my building with like vegetables in those bins that they put out on the sidewalk. So you can sort of do your vegetable shopping on the sidewalk. Then you go in and you pay. And one day I'm looking out the window, just a normal day. And this guy is crossing the street in the crosswalk. And he's going across, just walking along like in a business suit. And he passes over a manhole cover. And the manhole cover explodes. And the entire manhole cover and this man go flying. And he flies across the street into the vegetable shop. And he just stands up and brushes himself off as if nothing happened. He's just like, oh, and he's just like going like this. And I was like, well, and then a fire department came and an ambulance came, but I kept watching. This dude was fine. I mean, no, he was fine. He didn't even have like a broken nothing. He was fine. You know, I didn't even see them put him in an ambulance. They checked him. I just saw this thing. They were checking him and it was nothing. Maybe they probably did because I'm sure they had to, but he was fine, man. He was walking around and, but I found out later that actually that happens quite often in places like New York, that the pressure, because you mentioned pressure, but they get gas buildups often that will happen in various places, and it pops the cover up, and it sometimes it'll shoot flame out, and it can be really bad. This guy was really lucky because I'm telling you, this guy was not hurt. I don't think this guy even had a scratch on him. Maybe it's because he landed in tomatoes or something. I don't know. Yeah, you could be like Silver Surfer on the manhole cover. So, just so you know, Sonoronen, all you have to do is, if you want to join the queue, you can get a reading. I'm actually in the process of continuing to shuffle cards. Yeah, I think so. But sometimes those vents are for other things. They're for like, they have like heaters, heating units under the sidewalks, and they're just for the building that they're next to. Like the ones that put all that steam up, they're actually usually for the building that's right there. You're thinking, Sonoronen? There you go. You're up. Getting the shuffling going. Yep, general reading. Absolutely. All right, Son of Ronan. So, our very top signal comes out. Three of Cups. We're talking heart now. We're talking feelings. This is where the tarot is focusing its attention. Feelings, your heart. Things you love, what you love to do, who you love. And the three is going out into action, getting out of stability, but the card's reversed. So the tarot is giving us a big hint, basically saying, not quite the time to think about taking sudden action. It's more about now continuing the preparatory, continuing to come together, to coalesce, to plan. Okay, it's not quite yet time to open the door and go out into the whatever to follow your heart yet. It's a little, it's a hint to slow down and sit with your feelings a little longer. Not too long, because it's a number card. It's not saying this is a big deal. This is like talking about a few days, really. This is very minor. Okay. Now over here you have King of Cups. This is reversed also. And this is the unconscious. This is something you're not really thinking of every day. This is something that maybe hasn't occurred to you for a while. But the King kind of has that, very decisive, very much like I know what I feel. I've been through this before. I know how to deal with these feelings because this is nothing new to me, right? And I know how to make decisions without, creating a bunch of chaos. I'm able to make feelings based upon affection and my heart and without creating further chaos, except not quite yet. There's a problem making decisions here. The calm decision-making capability, the understanding of how you feel is lacking at the moment. It's not ready. That's why the cards are telling you not to make any sudden moves, because the confidence in your decision is not yet there. And it perhaps means, this King, he can make wise decisions, but he has to base it on communication and information. He's skilled. He's intelligent. He doesn't do things just based on whims. And the card is upside down, so the decisions can't quite be made soundly yet. So there's all about here in the realm of the heart, going slow, being cautious now. Don't think that you understand what's going on, because you don't yet. And then, it's all cups. They're all reversed. The idea here with this is on the right side, keep this in the forefront of your mind. This is something that's highly obvious, or should be, and to pay attention to and look out for coming up soon. And it's a kind of a lack of compatibility. There's a lacking in the reservoir of feeling. The feeling isn't quite there. And the cards all here are suggesting, hold your horses. Let's sit in the barn a little longer before we go rambling down the road. Let's be careful here, because we don't really know what we're doing yet. And we just don't quite yet understand what the feelings really are, or if they're strong enough. So be careful. That's the main message here. It's all heart. It's all about emotion and love here. Go slow is what it's saying. Go slow. And that could be, it doesn't have to be romance. It could be what you love to do. Yeah. Whatever is involving your emotions, whatever is getting your feelings the most attention. Now, it's suggesting you go very slow because you don't fully understand those feelings yet. You're very welcome. I mean, you might be a little confused about where it applies, because the mistake that's very easy to make when you look at cups is to think it always has to do with romance. But that's not necessarily true. It might have nothing to do with romance, but it has to do with your emotions. Whatever it is you're feeling, wherever your emotions are centered now. Thank you, Gregory. That's what the tarot is talking about. That's where you want to think about this. And it's, it's giving that basic advice. Not the time to make sudden moves where your feelings are concerned. Not the time to get into a massive argument. Not the time to express profound, deep love yet. Not the time to decide this is what I love to do and I'm going to do. It's time to sort of be slow and easy and give yourself a little bit more time to make wise decisions based on really knowing your feelings. I see you, Gregory. I see you're in the queue. I hope that helps in some way, Sonoranin. So, Gregory, you give me your topic, your question, and I do the shuffling over here. You're welcome, Sonoranin. You'll know when you see it, Sonoranin. You'll know where it applies. Just ponder it again in a day or two. You'll see. Oh, for me? How do I get... I usually just read cards. I just pull cards for myself. But you have to do that. I use this one. This deck. The Tarot de Marseille. But I have a deck that I have created just recently. It's finished and will be printed soon, but and that will be my deck, and I will actually use it. I will use it here on this stream. I've been working on it quite a while, actually. Angels and your relation to them. Let's see what the tarot says to us. Let's see what its primary signal flashing from the top is. Strength. Strength. That kind of gentle mastery of poorly understood natural forces, basically. The forces that are sort of instinctive, instincts. Animal nature, nature itself, but the forces that we don't fully understand, that ability to master the world, but to do so calmly and gently. And what we're seeing here, it's a reversal, And this quality, this is a big card, you know, this strength. And what it's saying is, you know, angels, the concept of angels, you know, their grace, you know, and I'm speaking of angels in my own understanding of them without really understanding them, but they tend to have this quality of observation. You know, they observe, they watch people. They are typically sort of seen as guardians. That's a classic view. They're sort of like the star card. They have that guide quality. That they provide the gentle hint to the soul, you know, the guidance from heaven sort of idea. Ushering people's souls somewhere, that kind of thing. And if you feel like you're in touch with those forces, the idea behind angels, then you're getting closer to that, the voice of guidance, the spiritual voice, the higher awareness, right? A higher awareness, a more spiritual view of life and the world and your place in it, okay? And the strength card being reversed kind of implies that the ego, it touches on the ego and its place in this, and how in order to connect with such subtle forces as angelic forces, one needs to master one's own ego. You couldn't relate to an angel unless you were able to be humble. You can't have any arrogance with an angel. And so what the card is mainly suggesting is the time to allow yourself to be weak, to not be the strong person. Mastery is not part of this equation at the moment. The part of your personality that masters and achieves and is able to control typically unmanageable forces, that is not the weaker, the gentle is being called upon here. The receptive part of you is being summoned. And that perhaps letting any ego that remains kind of drop, at least for a short while, to give you a little bit more of a sense of connection to what it is you're seeking. And then here we have a reversal. Here, this is mind and belief. This is the 8. And it's, you know, the 8 can be restrictive. It can end up in reversal being isolating, and you're withdrawing and closing the walls around yourself with ideas that are repetitive and that you've gotten used to and you're not willing yet to break with. But and that you're not aware of this. That's why it's on the left here. This is the more unconscious part of this reading. And it's so the warning of this card is open the mind. Open the mind, look, and it's in keeping with lowering your guard in the force card, the strength card. By letting your guard down, by being weak, is another way of expressing the same idea of opening the mind. Don't depend on your pre-existing notions. Let your mind open and to some extent empty so that you become receptive rather than strong, rather than masterful, so that you're a receptive vessel for something trying to come in. And then over here on the right, which is something to keep right in front of you because it's coming. Look at this. You have 8s flanking. Okay? And this 8 is right side up. So where here you have this warning about being restricted in your closed mind, the warning is be careful, you want to open your mind. Well, over here it says what to keep in mind that's coming up and to be on the lookout for is this full accomplishment and opening of your heart. This complete opening and filling of your heart. Remember what I said about becoming a receptive vessel just a moment ago? That's what this is. The 8 is this infinite success of whatever it is you have put your heart behind. And you find the right balance between being yourself and being secure in your feelings and also in expressing them and achieving a very spiritual sort of sense. You achieve this because the 8 is that infinite symbol. So it always implies a balance and an achieving of infinite potential and success. And this is in your heart, which means you're talking about angels here. And what are angels most associated with? Love. Love. So the idea is here, if you let the guard down, you let yourself be your weaker self, your more open and receptive self. You open your mind, break through any barriers you've set up for yourself in your mind. You will then experience an incredible filling of your heart, and you will experience this feeling of love that you are seeking, and you are seeking it in a very high sense with the angel connection. This is a very high order of love we're talking about here. Yes, tender is a good word. That's actually a good word. That's probably a better word than receptive. Tender. Because when you're tender, you are receptive. Right? That's what's implied by that word. And so that is the word. Tenderness is what you are looking for. And the tenderness will then in turn fill you up here. This is what the 8 is. It's incredible success. And when you were talking about the heart, that means love, full, overflowing. And that's perfect for any connection to angels that I can imagine. And you know, I don't even really know about angels. I know only what everyone kind of knows about angels. And the first thing anybody would say about angels is, you know, love, guardian, guidance, those are very basic elements that surround angel. When you were tender, your angel link was open. You forgot to be tender. That's why my link weakened. Okay, so you're seeing it then. You're seeing what this card means, what this reversed strength card is saying. You understand this perfectly. Which, now here's the interesting philosophical thing about that. Okay? The strength card, right? If the strength card is reversed, it implies not being so strong, being tender, because that's how you will be receptive and filled up. Except that just being tender is a form of strength in itself. That's why this card is so complex, because the card is all about gentle strength. And I think your word is awesome. it's great because I'm going to use that word, tender strength. See, readers learn from people asking questions in tarot because someone like you says a word like that and it makes someone like me look at this card and go, actually, that word is a key to really understanding this card fully. And as I said at the beginning of this stream tonight, you have to constantly deepen your tarot practice so that your tarot practice or your tarot reading or your tarot stream, whatever it is, becomes deeper and deeper as the days go by. So that the way you stream tarot 2 months from now is deeper and more rich than it was when you started. And so things like this, like the word tender, come out and you're like, yep, that's the word. You see? Yeah. It's important to find those words. So thank you, Gregory, because that's your word. Tender. Dodger. How are you, Dodger? You are up. So, Gregory, I hope that gives you a nice feeling about where you're going with that. You're very welcome. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to get in these little things where we forget some little, we catch ourselves, you realize over time, oh my gosh, I've kind of changed. Something's changed about me or my approach, and I have to get back to something, So, Dodger, you can just tell me what your topic is, whatever kind of thing you want to ask. I think I've got a pretty good shuffle here. What are your circumstances with C moving forward from where you are now? Okay. All right. Well, the top signal coming off the radio tower, top of the mountain in the distance where the snow is, with the little red light on top, beep, 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 going like that, signaling all aircraft, is the Two of Wands, and that's passion. That's that creative drive that you feel that gets you so excited when you're with someone or want to be with them. And the 2 is the universally understood number of coupling, of gathering, coming together, uniting, being as one. That's the very topmost message here. And this is a number card. This is not something that's going to take forever. This is something here, present, current, very current, immediate. That's why it's a number card. The 2, if you're talking about being in a relationship, the 2 is basically saying, yeah, it's a relationship. It's going forward. It's a pairing. And there's enormous gathering of energy here. And that you're going to be able to go forward and beyond. Okay, you're still in the gathering and solidifying. And things are building their strength together. You're coalescing into one thing. Okay? Now, on the left, lower down the mountain, is the part that sort of supports and says, I am not always visible, and it's hard for you to see me sometimes because I'm down here in the pine trees. And you have the Queen of Swords. Queens, they rule, they manage, but they do so in the realm of people, feelings. They're more subtle than the kings. They're more nurturing. They want people to grow and do well. So all of their management and suggestions, they're all toward building up someone's health, giving them ideas, giving them approaches that make them feel safer and protected. That's what queens want to do in the way we have structured this thing called the Tarot de Marseille. And so it also, the swords are in the thoughts and beliefs and how you work on and communicate. So when you're a couple coming together, this ability to communicate your ideas, to share ideas and beliefs together is incredibly important. How do you resolve things? How do you make plans for the future? Well, if you've got the queen sitting there down in the pine trees, covering your flank, that so to speak, you have incredible capacity to make very, very good, solid decisions that do nothing but increase your sense of safety, home, solidity. She's all about nurturing. She's all about fertility. But she has the mental capacity to make wise decisions. She's capable. She's able to protect. And you've got that sitting there, right there, and you might sometimes forget that you have that. That's why it's on the left, lower down in the trees. And here on the right, something to keep in mind, something to be aware of lower down in the trees, relatively minor because it's a number card. 8 of Swords reversed. Simply meaning whenever the 8 is reversed like this in the suit of Swords, it's basically saying, just don't get stuck. Just don't always take the boring, safe road. Be willing to experiment. So this queen here, and this is the main card of the reading, this queen here is very wise, capable, profoundly aware of what's going on around her. So she makes decisions that are wise, okay? And so she's not going to let, rigid ideas shut you down and get you locked into anything. She's not going to allow that. She's wiser than that. And she's more interested in growth than that. So she is the key to breaking any sort of a deadlock that happens coming up in the future. This also implies coming up. This is what you want to keep in your mind to look out for. So as you couple, as you come together as one and rely upon your skills in communication and planning and your intelligence, you also look out for any log jams, any old beliefs about your relationship that are maybe outmoded, and you don't want to get stuck in old habits. The 8 is very full of old habits, and you just want to be ready to let the queen come in and take care of that and break it, okay? Because you've got the tool to do it. So it's just reminding you, as couples, they all get in their habits, all of them. Every single couple, no matter how great a relationship, they all get into these weird little habits. Every single one. And Sometimes some of them can be a pain and they can build up, and you stack a few of those habits on top of each other. Like you develop 12 of them over time, and it can get to be a real irritation for people, and it can start to bring your relationship downhill, and cause tension. Well, the queen is here. That's what the queen's really good at spotting. So the reading is saying, keep this woman, this female card, which applies just as equally to men as women, every possibility it applies to. It's just talking about that energy of nurturing decisions that nurture and break through the staid, old, habitual things that start to irritate people. Just you can handle those things with ease. Yeah, take risks. Open the crown is a good way of putting it. Crowns are inherently open. They open out toward the spiritual realm, toward endless possibility, right? In their symbol. And that's exactly right. Open the crown. Yeah. She does. She plants seeds of inspiration. The queens, and they all derive that energy from the big major Empress card, who has very similar energy, except the Empress card is energy in the full realm. She's the full world of that kind of nurturing seed energy. She encompasses it and she radiates that out to the other queen cards in the court and the court cards. Yeah. Gaia's another great word. Yep. Gaia. Yeah. That all-encompassing natural force of life. Yeah. Yeah. And interesting, when I drew my Empress card, I just instinctively put a ton of foliage in it. All about greenery, basically. I think you're dead right. Yep. And I don't know about angels, but what you're saying makes total sense for what I do know. Gives you a lot of hope for the future and where you stand with C. Things seem, yeah, because the queen is going to guide you through anything that you need guiding through. It's one of those, and I say to people a lot, just keep, you don't even have to remember an entire reading, really. There's one card usually from a reading that's like its primary flag, and you just remember the quality of that card. And if you just remember it a few days later, it can give you a nice feeling. Yeah, Dodger, I know what you mean. Good to have someone else read your cards. Yeah. Yeah, because absolutely. Because, if you read cards all the time, you get used to your own perspective. And just like happened here tonight, somebody comes with a word that they apply that you have overlooked. You haven't used that word in your own readings before. And that word used by someone else it makes you think, oh, wow. And it can inspire a whole new line of thought that you can go and research about a card. And so you end up getting more connected to a card than you were before. And that's because you take input. And that's part of being tender. You have to be tender in order to absorb input. Nobody's an expert. It's like we can't think of ourselves as like big experts in anything. We're all learners, right? And that's what makes it fun. I don't want to be a big expert because then where do I go? It's like then I won't need to buy another book. I won't have any fun in a bookstore anymore looking for tarot books. I want to always think I don't quite have it so that I can go and have more fun browsing for books and buy them. I love that. So, it's all good. But yeah, and with the Queen cards, I used to be more sort of confused by them until I began to see them as sort of emanating more focused beams of the energy from the Empress. And the Kings, the same, from the emanating energies from the Emperor card. That's sort of the way my key to sort of getting a stronger feel for the Queen and King court cards. There we go. Jojo, you're wondering about your soulmate. If you're with your soulmate. Are you with your soulmate? You're very welcome, Dodger, and thank you for talking and I love it when ideas come in my direction, ideas from people and back and forth. I really like that. That's every reading gets better when people are like sharing like that, I think. An 8 of Cups is a very good sign, Jojo. 8 of Cups here is huge potential. A lot of love. There's a lot of love surrounding this question you've asked. That's your signal right there. Full heart. Emperor. So, there's a little bit of confusion that probably worries you quite consistently. And the Emperor, that strength in making decisions and understanding things and sort of controlling where things go. There's a lot of doubt about that, but there's this full heart, you see. But deciding is the crucial key here. You wouldn't be asking if there weren't some difficulty deciding, and the tarot is simply recognizing that. This is a big factor, this ability to decide and make a kind of a, put yourself down comfortably in a particular situation, and you haven't been able to do it. Now, coming up here, so there's the 4, and that's very physical. That's a number of house and home and security and stability and protection, and it's reversed. So there's more instability required coming up to keep yourself aware that things aren't yet ready to settle down. Things aren't ready to be 4 yet. And the reason the 4 is showing up is it wants to be. I think you want there to be this stability. But the 4 is saying, okay, yeah, we get that. We know that that's where you're going. It's not there yet. And indecisiveness is, that's a holdup. But the full heart is the reminder to let that full heart speak. And that is your guide. That's your guide. And it's very accessible. And you can do this because it's a number card. It's very accessible. It's an immediately accessible piece of you here. So just think about what makes your heart feel really good, and that'll help you overcome your trouble making decisions about relationships and who's your soulmate and who isn't. And then coming up, you will have to spend some more time making these decisions before you can achieve stability of the 4, even though it can tell, the tarot kind of senses, the suggestion is that yes, that's what you're going for, is a solid decision, a solid place to be in a relationship. You just can't do it yet. So trust what it is you feel now is the main thing going on here. Trust what it is you feel now. The only person that can answer is you. That's what this card is saying. This card is your overflowing full heart. And it's telling you whatever makes that heart beat now is the key and will be the key toward being able to make decisions wisely and finding a solid relationship over here rather than hoping for one. And that's why you can't decide. That's why the Emperor's upside down. You can't decide. This card, though, these cards, not one of them is wands. Not one of them mentions excitement. This card focuses on love. This card focuses on stability of circumstances and physical things, security, wanting it, but not being able to get it because you can't decide. But this reading is not about excitement. This reading is focusing on love. Yes. And stability usually arrives when you're able to fully believe in your choice. If you don't believe in your choice, then you're never going to be fully secure and stable. Stability requires full engagement and commitment. That's always the case. All right, I think I'm going to close the queue. I didn't even intend to stream tonight. I just jumped in on an unplanned stream, which is I really enjoy that actually. So I'm gonna wrap it up for this evening, and it's been a very good time talking to everyone and hearing ideas and Yeah. So excellent, excellent work tonight from everybody. You're very welcome. Absolutely welcome. A pleasure to come in here and do this. And thank you all for coming here. I really love doing this, and let's do it more. And tomorrow I'll be back. I'll be doing my scheduled one at 7 p.m. It's 7 p.m. Pacific time, California time. So I'll be doing it here. I'll just go 7 to, I don't know, whenever, probably 7 till, I guess, around 10. So good. Everybody have an excellent rest of their night or day, wherever they happen to be. And I will hopefully see you again very shortly. All right. Later. Happy tarot. Oh, Jojo, I don't even think I know how to raid. I should raid. I don't even know how. I wonder if I can do it from the app. Let me see. If I go on the app, I'm gonna try to raid. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Okay, here's some tarot. I'm gonna raid this guy.